Hello and welcome to the Dr. Shelley Meyer YouTube channel and the Women in Medicine Be the Change podcast. I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Jia Ung to the channel and to the podcast today. And we are going to get her unique take on women in medicine as far as academia and academic medicine goes, because I am no expert on that and she is. And I can't wait to hear her take on all of that and how that can relate, how burnout can happen, how overwhelm can happen in that unique area of medicine. So welcome. Dr.
Thank you
Jia.
so much. It's my pleasure.
And so I wanted to start by you telling your story of your path in medicine, how you got where you're at now. You're a nephrologist, correct?
That's correct.
And then in academic medicine. So tell us your story, maybe any kind of experiences of overwhelm you've had in relation to all the different hats you're wearing, and just however you want to tell that story. Go right ahead.
Right. So I did my medical school at Malaysia and in Dublin, Royal College of Surgeons. And after internship in Malaysia, I came to do residency in Pennsylvania at Crozier, and then did my fellowship at University of Pennsylvania, where I did also master's in clinical epidemiology because I wanted to pursue research. And medical school was fine. Residency was tough because that's where I had my first child during internship. Wow. And then I went to fellowship with a second 6-month-old baby.
Oh my goodness! It was I can't imagine.
and that was the first one was fine. It was the second one. Once you add on the second one, people don't tell you like the second child is not double the work. It seems like more.
Yes,
and because it's also the first year fellowship, the workload was high, and I was traveling, driving 45 minutes to the hospital. So that was taking a toll. And the main issue I realized at that time was the lack of sleep and feeling like I'm always behind. You've been through medical school, always feeling like you're the top in class. And then for the first time in fellowship, I felt like I always was the last one. I left work the latest. I came to work the earliest because I want to finish up, but I could never keep up. And at one point I was so exhausted because of everything. And my effectiveness at work was poor. That means, I needed an intervention. Like, you are not really performing. You're making mistakes. Apparently I was like falling asleep while talking to the attending.
Oh no.
Yes. So it was good that my program director called me in and said, I think you need to rest. You need to take time off, which was a blow because I always felt like I could handle everything.
Yes.
Then I rested. I slept for 2 weeks and
oh wow,
and did laundry, just day-to-day activity. And when I came back, I just found a new me, not in the sense of a new achievement, but the fog lifted.
Right.
I was just so exhausted and realized I couldn't tell if I was burnout or not, but I was definitely overwhelmed and just so exhausted. So that was kind of my first time overwhelmed, like really took over my life.
Yeah. And what a good residency director to recognize that and to give you that time off, because that's pretty rare.
Yes.
And then with academic medicine, we had talked before about how, stressful that can be. And as far as having to not only do the research, but then write the research. So tell me about how overwhelm can happen in that situation as well.
Absolutely. The main difference when you start going to academia is the lack of structure. So you go into academia thinking you need to do research, okay? And we forget that the final output is the paper. It means you actually have to write. And the time you need to write is actually a long, it takes a long time. And from my experience, the writing takes maybe 50 to 60% of the time of the project. And because I wasn't trained in that, because we were expected to navigate it ourselves or maybe learn during undergraduate school, but actually it wasn't very formalized. And so when I completed my fellowship, I had zero publication. Again, partly it's because of lack of structure. So I never knew how to plan my day that, I actually need to do some of this and some of writing. So I just went to classes without any good purpose in mind. And so even though at that time it wasn't overwhelming, it felt like I was doing a lot of busy work without any true output. So, and at that time, I felt somewhat defeated, but realized that it's not unique to me. There are many academics who go through research training, or some go into academia, like academic clinicians, and they know they need to teach students or residents, but they are also expected to publish to get promoted. And so after like 4th or 5th year, they realize, I don't really have a project, or they have a project, but papers keep getting rejected, or they don't know how to progress from the completed project to the written paper. So that was like the struggle, that load of assistant professor, but no associate professor, or associate professor not getting promoted up to full professor because of this final piece of getting the project to the finish line.
Okay. Wow, that sounds like a lot. So you took that unique experience and you got creative and created a solution. Tell us about that.
Yes. So what I eventually realized is like the writing piece. And I poured myself into, because English is not my first language. So I thought, okay, maybe it's just the lack of it's an English language. But after getting books, it's not just the grammar. It was a whole structure. It's a whole process that I had to learn. And then eventually I learned that you actually have to treat yourself as a professional writer. And so as a professional writer, you have to work as a professional writer. It means you have to write during work time, not at the end of the day when your kids are in bed, when your brain is no
not
longer
during
clear.
Pajama time in bed.
Right, pajama time and then writing, and wonder why you don't enjoy writing, or wonder why you don't enjoy the work, and why you can't think clearly. So I kind of switched my time. I learned that. Then I learned like structures. How do you actually write? How do you actually make it sound beautiful and fast? They like practice and drills for it. And so I've created that system myself, and realized after 2 years, I was able to write papers much quickly. And it was good because it was getting into high impact journals, especially just within our field at least. So then I decided, let me help fellows at my institution. And I realized all the things I've learned wasn't intuitive. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. Things that I've learned through the 2 years. And, that's amazing. I didn't realize. So I wanted a bigger impact and said, okay, I want to get this out to more people. And I started creating a YouTube channel to guide clinicians on how to publish papers, particularly on the writing parts and the mistakes they need to avoid so that they don't waste time down the road. There's certain things you have to do before writing so that the papers will eventually accept journals accept the paper. So I did that, and also started my own coaching business to coach clinicians on helping them how to get unstuck.
Unstuck? Great.
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to talk about on this channel and this podcast is how to get unstuck. So your website is publishedmd.com?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Publishedmd.
So anybody that is interested in learning more about that and about, academic medicine and writing, there's a lot of great information on there. I like your channel, like your videos are good little chunks and tidbits that everybody needs. Well, I would assume, I'm not in that field, but I would assume that they need. And you make it very interesting, and the visual is really good. So, yes. I think it's great.
So I got feedback, like I think the first 2 videos were maybe 8 to 10 minutes. And I got feedback from my personal colleagues, like, I think it's too long because, because academic writing is heavy. So they feel like after 5 minutes, they can't take it. So I kind of cut it really short and punchy. So most of my videos are usually 3 to 5. So like, you just watch one video, so you get one tip. And that makes it more digestible. Yes.
You can handle that and go apply that one tip. No, I think it's great. And I think the coaching program sounds really good too. So as we had talked about before on this channel and podcast, we're talking about getting out of stuck positions and burnout. And so your website and YouTube videos offer the solution in your field. What do you think of it? Like, how do you keep good work-life balance in your own life?
Oh, that's always a tricky one.
It is a challenge.
It is a challenge. But now that my kids are older, I realize a few things. Number one is when they are younger and you feel like you're not productive and you're trying your best and you still feel like you're not productive. Mm-hmm. Now that they're bigger, I realize that you're not being unproductive. Instead, I would reframe it as you are working on weights. Like you go jogging, you wear the weights, like 2 pounds so that you're slow. But once you take off the weight, once your kids are grown and you don't need as much attention, all of a sudden my productivity like skyrocketed because I've been working at a different efficiency level compared to my peers without kids. So that's the first thing. And second thing is learn to outsource. And these things I've learned to do a lot better now. Yes. Like now my laundry is completely outsourced. Means
good for you. I need to get there.
somebody picks up the laundry and wash it and fold it and drop it off on Thursdays. So every week I just have to prepare that. So that's like a big thing.
What a luxury.
Yeah. Yes, I did. I took so long. I was like, oh, maybe I should like look up. And they said, oh, I do wash and fold. That was really good because the folding, it takes a long time. Yeah. And another tip is the connection with the family.
Yes, so important.
What I've learned to do is to talk about my day with my kids.
Yes.
I like tell them everything. I will say, oh, today I saw a wonderful patient and how they have changed my life. So that it's not me and work. My work actually is really important to me. And so now they can learn from mommy that work is not a bad thing. Work actually is very fulfilling. And so they can see that how I'm serving, how I am changing lives. So that's one part. And then I tell them good days, like, oh, today my paper got accepted. I got a grant. I tell them how excited. And so now they know that, oh, mommy does research. And so now when in elementary school, they start learning how to do research projects and how to write hooks in their paragraph. They start talking to me about it. So
yes, good.
So it builds a connection. So don't be afraid to talk to your kids about your day. And so that things that they learn in school, they feel like, oh, I can actually connect to mommy about certain things.
Yeah, because they want to know what our days are like. And sometimes we are just so tired and, we just don't feel like we can talk about it. We ask them about their day, but we don't share ours. So yeah. And I think teaching them things that you learn from your day that they can apply at school is a great idea. And then there's that connection.
Yes. And when you tell them a lot, because you always do ask them anyway, and you tell them your day, and some days you get so tired and you forget. And they've learned that they say, you asked me a lot about my day, but what about you? How's your day, mommy? So you train them that they actually will be interested in other people's life as well.
Yes, I think that's great. And then just to kind of dial it back, what do you think, either from your colleagues or in your personal experience, the biggest frustration that women in medicine are facing right now?
I think the biggest problem is the lack of control. Control in options, control in your time. When you feel like you don't have option and you feel like you're out of control, burnout happens. That's how I believe burnout happens.
Exactly.
You feel frustrated and you can't, you are powerless.
Yeah, somebody else is setting the rules for us, right?
For you. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we have to get out of that role or get out of that mindset or shift by stepping outside and think, okay, what do I really want? And what do I wish to be? And then reverse engineer it. Look at what skills that you need to get to that level. And you actually have to go a little bit further, not do what you expected, but do what you want to be, then people will see you where you are, like in a
Yes.
new role.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that is one way to gain back control.
Yes, that control is key. And, the lack of control and the feeling stuck doesn't always mean, I'm not trying to spread the message on this, podcast or channel that women have to leave their current positions, because you don't. You can change what you're experiencing. Like you said, you can shift to become who you want to be in your current role, and then good things can follow. You just have to know where you want to be.
Yes. And I think there also is a few more things that that are frustrating for women is they feel like they're not valued. Like, for example, oh, I wasn't invited to be a committee here. Or how come there's this opportunity I wasn't invited? And sometimes it's really, you haven't really told the division chief or department that you want it. So if you don't ask,
right?
if you don't tell them, they assume that you're too busy. And I've experienced every time when somebody doesn't show up for grand rounds, they're like, oh, maybe they're busy with your kids, with that assumption. So they may think you're always too busy, and they may want to protect you and your family, and so never give you the opportunity. So if we don't tell them, they may not know it.
Yeah, we have to speak up for what we want, negotiate for what we want, and just discover our voice. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining me tonight and letting us all hear what you're doing. And so the website again is publishedmd.com.
That's
and
correct.
the YouTube channel is the same name, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you're doing such great things, and I really appreciate your time and letting us all know how they can reach you. Is there a contact way to reach you on the website?
It's the same. It's info@publishedmd.com.
Great. So if anybody has any questions, reach out there. Thanks so much for joining me, and you have a good day.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you. Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Hey, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that episode. I thought it was really interesting to hear about burnout and all the different hats that women in academic medicine have to wear. So if you liked it, please like, share, like it, like the video, share it out, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Or if you're listening if you listen to the podcast, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from, because that will help the channel and the podcast grow. And if you want to help support my mission here to help women in medicine recover from burnout, get out of situations or positions that are in burnout inducing, and rediscover their love of medicine, please consider joining me on my Patreon page. I will link the information in the show notes and then in the description on the YouTube video. I hope to see you or talk with you next Friday. Please leave me comments down below on the YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Thanks for joining me.